My dad said, clinking his beer bottle against my uncle's. Your online money will never have any real value. The backyard erupted in laughter. My name is Adam Collins. I'm 27 years old, and for the past 6 years, I've been building blockchain solutions out of my cramped one-bedroom apartment in Tulsa. Not that my family understands or tries to understand. Every reunion has the same script. Polite questions about when I'll get a real job, followed by crypto jokes that stopped being funny years ago. I smiled and nodded like I always do. Let them laugh. The announcement I got yesterday still makes my head hurt. The European company's final acquisition offer was $27.5 million for my optimization protocol. 6 years of 18-hour days, ramen noodles, and learning from every failure had led to this moment. You know, my dad kept lowering his voice so only I could hear. Tom said they were always hiring at the dealership. There were good benefits, too. I took another sip of beer and looked across the yard at my brother-in-law, Tom, showing off his new watch, commissioned from a luxury car dealership. He caught my eye and gave me the sympathetic look he always did. As I drove home that night, my phone rang. It was a text from my sister, Sarah. "Don't worry, Dad. He's just worried about you." I threw the phone on the passenger seat without answering. What they don't know can't hurt them. Not yet, anyway. When I got home, I checked my laptop one more time. The transfer was pending. By Monday morning, I would have more money than everyone at that barbecue combined. I closed my laptop and stared out the window. For the first time in years, I felt almost at peace. I taught myself programming when I was 14, hunched over an old laptop my mom bought at a garage sale. I stayed up until 3 a.m., learning everything I could. My parents thought it was just a passing phase, like my brief obsessions with astronomy or skateboarding. "You'll grow out of it," they said when they asked me what I was doing locked in my room all day. But I didn't grow out of it. I graduated from high school, got a partial scholarship to state college, and majored in computer science. Everyone expected me to follow the conventional path. Internships, basic coding jobs, a gradual climb up the corporate ladder. Instead, I dropped out in my third year when I saw the potential of blockchain technology. My dad didn't talk to me for 3 months. My mom cried. Sarah tried to reconcile, but eventually stopped defending my choice at family gatherings. "I just don't understand why you would throw away a degree," my dad said when he finally started talking to me again. "Your grandfather worked in the oil fields for 40 years so his kids could go to college." I tried explaining once, talking about decentralized finance, cutting out middlemen, about the future of secure transactions. Their eyes went blank after a few minutes. So I retreated to my apartment and focused on building. While my friends were getting married, buying houses, and posting vacation photos, I was living on energy drinks and takeout, solving complex problems and creating efficiencies that no one had ever thought of before. The first sign that things were changing came 8 months ago. I published a report on a new blockchain protocol, and 3 days later, my inbox was flooded with messages from venture capitalists. One of them, Olivia from Vertex Capital, asked to meet. She said over a video call that your optimization algorithm was groundbreaking. "Have you considered what this might be worth?" I hadn't. I was just solving a problem that interested me. 3 weeks after that call, I got my first acquisition offer for $3 million. I turned it down. 6 weeks later, $8 million. I turned that down too. At that point, Sarah called. She said Dad was having some health issues. Nothing serious right now, but he might need surgery later this year. I asked if they needed money. She hesitated before saying they would figure it out. As I hung up, I stared at the latest offer in my inbox, $15 million, and felt strangely empty. What was the point of solving problems if I couldn't solve the ones closest to home? 2 days before the family gathering, I sat across from 5 executives in a virtual conference room. After 6 rounds of negotiations, they made a final offer of $27.5 million with a 2-year consulting contract, paying an additional $180,000 annually. "We need your answer today, Mr. Collins," the CEO said. I asked for an hour, walked around my neighborhood, past families grilling in their yards, kids playing basketball in their driveways, normal, visible life, one my parents could understand and approve of. When I got back to my apartment, I signed the contract and closed my laptop. It should have been a moment of triumph. Instead, I felt a strange emptiness. 6 years of work yielding more money than I could ever dream of. And I had no one to share it with. Someone who truly understood what I had accomplished. At the reunion, watching my family laugh about money online, I realized something. They weren't making fun of me because they didn't care. They were making fun of me because they couldn't see what I saw. They lived in a world where success looked like Tom's rose clock or my cousin Kyle's management position. I thought about telling them, considered pulling out my phone and showing them the pending transfer. But when my dad handed me another beer and patted me on the shoulder with a look that was both loving and disappointing, I decided not to drink. The issue was no longer about proving them wrong. This was a whole other issue, one I was just beginning to understand. On the way home, I stopped at a beautiful viewpoint overlooking the city. The lights of Tulsa stretched out below me like a circuit board. I made a decision right then and there. I would do things differently. No notice, no revenge. No, I told you. Instead, I opened my banking app and set up a new personal account. Then I made a list of names. My parents, Sarah, her daughter Emily, and Uncle Frank, who had lost his job last year. Even Tom. I knew exactly what I was going to do, and none of them knew it was me. A month after the purchase, I met with a financial advisor in Oklahoma City, a discreet woman named Olivia, who specialized in contingency wealth management. Most people in your position want to impress, she said, reviewing my plan. Buy a mansion, a supercar, show everyone you've made it. Not me, I replied. No, she smiled. I can see that. We set up a few anonymous charities and family trusts. I kept my apartment, my old Honda, and my routine. The only thing that changed was that I knew my family would never have to face financial hardship again. They just didn't know I was behind it. 3 weeks later, Sarah called in tears. Emily needs braces, Dad's having surgery, and they just cut Tom's commission at work, she said. I don't know what to do, Adam. I can help, I offered, even though I knew I'd have to pay for everything. Thanks, but she was hesitant. Dad doesn't want charity, especially from you. He thinks you need to focus on finding a stable job instead of pursuing crypto. That hurt more than I thought it would. What did you tell him? I said I wouldn't ask, she admitted. I only called because I was desperate. After I hung up, I sat and thought about that conversation for a long time. My dad would rather fight than accept help from me because he thought I was failing. The irony was almost too much. The next day, Sarah called again, both confused and excited. You won't believe this. Some organization called about a community grant for families with medical needs. They're going to cover the entire cost of Dad's surgery. That's great, I said, knowing that the fund had just been set up yesterday with just one anonymous donor, me. And listen, Emily qualifies for a full orthodontic scholarship through her school. They said someone is funding this scholarship specifically for kids in her class. Sounds like your luck is on the upswing. Sarah paused. It's weird, isn't it? All of this happening at once. Sometimes good things just happen, I said. 2 days later, my phone lit up with a text from Tom. Hey, have you heard about the farm? My grandfather's farm has been in tax trouble for years. My dad and his siblings have been trying to save it, but they're always short on money. So, I texted back, someone paid all the taxes owed. Anonymous donation. Your dad is going crazy. I smiled as I typed. That's great news. When I attended a small family gathering to celebrate the saving of the farm, I watched Dad give a tearful speech about family legacy and miracles. Everyone was buzzing with theories about their mysterious benefactor. Maybe it was Kyle, my aunt suggested. He's doing a great job managing it. Kyle shook his head. I wish I could take credit. Maybe become one of those tech billionaires who does random acts of kindness, Derek suggested. My dad looked across the table at me. Definitely not Adam's internet money, he laughed, but this time without bitterness. I raised my glass with everyone else and said nothing. 3 months after the acquisition, I got a call from Olivia at Vertex Capital. They're integrating your protocol earlier than expected, she said. The results are better than expected. Your earnings just tripled. Just like that, my net worth skyrocketed. The original $27.5 million was now nearly $40 million. I thanked her and hung up, then sat staring at the wall of my unchanged apartment. That evening, my mother called to invite me to dinner. "It's been so long," she said, "and your father wants to talk to you about something." When I arrived at my childhood home, the atmosphere was unusually tense. My father waited until after dinner to voice his thoughts. "I've been thinking," he said, fiddling with his napkin. "You've been working on this cryptocurrency thing for years. There's probably more to it than I thought." I sat down to drink coffee. "What changed your mind?" "I read about it," he admitted, surprising me. "After all the miracles that have happened to my family, I've started to wonder if there are forces at work that we don't understand." My mother nodded. "Your dad thinks technology could be one of those forces that we've been too quick to dismiss because of what you do." I felt a lump in my throat. "Is that right?" "I still don't understand," my dad said, "but I'd like to understand if you'd be willing to explain it again." For the next hour, I walked them through the basics of blockchain. My dad asked surprising questions. My mom took notes. It was the most interest they'd ever shown in my work. As I got ready to leave, my dad walked me to my car. "Son, I've been very hard on you," he said quietly. "I was worried you were throwing your life away. But the past few months have made me think about what's really important. It's not the job you do or how much money you make. It's family." I nodded, speechless. "Whatever happens with this crypto business, I want you to know that I'm proud of you for standing up for what you believe in. That takes courage." As I drove home, I realized something unexpected had happened. In trying to help my family without flaunting my success, I had inadvertently given my dad something more valuable than money. I had given him the opportunity to accept me for who I am. The next morning, I got another call from Sarah. "Adam, something strange is going on," she said, her voice soft. "Too many coincidences. The health fund, Emily's braces, the farm taxes. Now he's been offered a job at a new dealership with a higher salary out of nowhere. Someone is pulling the strings." I kept my tone neutral. "Maybe your luck really has changed." "Tom thought it might be him," she said bluntly. "He said he acted differently, calmer, like someone who didn't have to worry anymore." That surprised me. "What money do I have?" That's what I said. Sarah laughed. "Unless your internet money finally pays off." I changed the subject, but after we hung up, I realized I'd underestimated Tom. He might sell cars for a living, but he knew how to read people. For the first time, I wondered if being anonymous was the right approach. 5 months after signing the acquisition agreement, I met with Olivia again to review my financial strategy. "The anonymous approach is working," she said, "but there's a problem with sustainable giving. Your family is starting to see this pattern." I nodded. My brother-in-law was skeptical. "You have options," Olivia explained. "Continue anonymously with more space between gifts, create a formal family trust with privacy provisions, or just tell them the truth." I didn't respond right away. "Each path has its merits. What's stopping you from telling them?" she asked gently. I wasn't sure, I admitted. At first, I didn't want to rub it in their faces. Now I think I was afraid it might change everything. "Money usually does that," she agreed. After careful consideration, I decided to take the middle path. I would set up a family trust, but I would reveal my role gradually, starting with the person I trusted most to handle the information responsibly. The next day, I asked Sarah to meet me at a downtown coffee shop. "You're scaring me," she said when we arrived. "You never asked to meet like this." I slid a folder across the table. "I need you to look at this." She opened it and frowned at the legal papers inside. "What am I looking at? This is a fully funded trust for Emily's education." Sarah's eyes widened as she flipped through the pages. "This is millions of dollars. Adam, what have you been doing? Selling drugs?" I laughed. "Remember my blockchain project? The one everyone jokes about?" Understanding flashed across her face. "You sold it." I nodded. 5 months ago for $27.5 million. Sarah's coffee froze as it reached her lips. "Say that again." I explained everything. The acquisition, the consulting contract, the anonymous gifts. When I was done, Sarah shook her head in disbelief. The whole time Dad was offering to get me a real job, I was trying to figure out how to help people without making myself look like one. "You're unbelievable," I said. She said, but she was still smiling. "Why tell me now? I need your help. I'm setting up a larger family trust, but I don't want to make it a big deal." I want people to understand what money is for and where it comes from before they know how much money there is. Sarah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You've always been quiet and complicated. Over the next few weeks, Sarah helped me lay the groundwork. She casually mentioned articles about blockchain success stories to our parents. One night, she asked Tom to explain cryptocurrency over dinner, giving me an opportunity to offer insights that made my dad look at me differently. We arranged a family financial planning meeting to discuss the future of the farm. I brought in an advisor, not Olivia, but someone who could talk generally about trusts and estate planning. The pieces were starting to fall into place. My family was slowly starting to see cryptocurrency as legitimate, and I was starting to see me as someone who really understood what he was talking about. The final stage of my plan came to fruition when Sarah mentioned that Emily's middle school was having a career day. Are you here to talk about becoming a developer? She asked, looking at me meaningfully. It was the perfect opportunity. Emily's school orientation day was exactly 6 months after I signed the buyout. Sarah had arranged for my parents to attend to support Emily. Tom came too, curious about what I might have to say. I stood in front of a classroom of 12-year-olds and their parents and began simply. 6 years ago, I dropped out of college to do something no one in my family understood. They thought I was making a mistake. I glanced at my parents. They were worried about me. The students looked bored, but the adults listened. I was developing a blockchain protocol, a way to make cryptocurrency transactions faster and more secure. Most days, I wasn't sure if it was working. I ate a lot of ramen, missed family events to debug the code. People joked about my internet money. A few kids giggled. I smiled. 6 months ago, I sold my company for $27.5 million. The room fell silent. I saw my dad's jaw drop. My mom put her hand over her mouth. Tom's eyes widened in shock. But that wasn't the important part of the story, I continued. The important part is that success doesn't always look like what people expect. Sometimes people in old Hondas and clothes they've worn for years are building something revolutionary. I ended my presentation by announcing a technology grant I'd made to the school to ensure every student had access to a computer in programming classes if they wanted one. As I stepped off the stage, Emily ran up and hugged me. That was great, Uncle Adam. My parents slowly approached me as if it were a day. $27.5 million, my dad said softly. Son, is that right? Actually, it's closer to $42 million now with the bonus, I replied. My mom started to cry. My dad looked like he was too. Farm taxes, Emily's braces, my surgery? I nodded. That's it. I want to help, I said simply, not making a big deal out of it. Tom stepped forward and held out his hand. I knew something was wrong. I didn't expect this. He shook his head and laughed. Gosh, I offered you a job at the car dealership. Those were good offers, I said, shaking his hand. Just not my path. 2 weeks after work, I helped my parents move into their new house, a modest but comfortable place closer to Sarah and Emily, with no stairs to get in the way of my dad's post-surgery knees. This time I bought it through a family trust with their full knowledge. Still don't know exactly what you invented, my dad said as we unpacked his new garage, but I'm trying to learn. That's all I wanted, I told him. He paused, holding an old fishing tackle box. I'm sorry I didn't see what you were building. You have no way of knowing. No, he agreed, but I can trust you more. That evening, the family gathered for dinner on the back porch. Tom was talking excitedly about the programming class he'd signed up for. He said it was never too late to learn new skills. Sarah had quit her stressful accounting job to start her own business with my initial investment. She had helped many other families overcome financial hardships. Emily was showing my mother how to buy her first Bitcoin on a smartphone app. As I watched them, I realized something had fundamentally changed. Money had changed our circumstances, yes, but what had really changed was something deeper, a newfound respect, not just for what I had achieved, but for the different paths to success. I left the table for a moment and walked to the edge of the yard. The sun was setting over Tulsa, dyeing the sky orange and purple. My phone buzzed with an email from Olivia. Another company wanted to discuss my consulting services at 3 times my current rate. I put the phone in my pocket without paying. Words. Maybe tomorrow. Everything okay? My dad followed me out. I just said I was enjoying the moment. He nodded, his eyes revealing an understanding that hadn't been there before. Your grandfather would be so proud, you know. Not of the money, but of the perseverance. I learned that from him, I told him honestly. He put his arm around my shoulder, a gesture that would have made me feel awkward months ago, but now feels natural. Let's get back to the table, he said. Your mom wants to know if she should buy Ethereum next. I laughed and followed him back to the family I always had. But who could see me in the end? In a world that is constantly changing, I realized that success is not only measured by the amount of money in my account or the praise from others, but by the perseverance in pursuing my passion and the love for my family. I chose to walk my own path, without showing off, without arguing, but always keeping my faith and sincerity. And as the lights of Tulsa City began to dim, I knew that my story was still continuing, not to prove anything to anyone, but to be true to myself and the people I love.